Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. We're on the road today at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore in beautiful Princess Anne, and we have a very important guest this week, Dr. Heidi Anderson. Welcome. Well, we've wanted you on here many times, and we haven't been able to get you on because we had a thing called the pandemic get in the way.
Yes.
But finally, we're able to welcome you to the Eastern Shore and welcome you to your new job, and you're going to tell us more about UMES.
Well, thank you, and thanks for welcoming me. And you're correct, the pandemic hit all of us. That little thing that none of us were expected to, didn't have any expectations about, and didn't know what to do with it, but we managed to get through it. So,
well, UMES was one of those institutions that people look to because you were able to continue operations even during the pandemic and keep the in-person classrooms going.
Very much so, Greg. I am so proud of my campus, my faculty, my students, and my staff. They stood up and we said, let's figure out how to do this. And I always brag because we were the only school in the entire state of Maryland that was actually able to bring our students back in July of 2020 and go uninterrupted without any closures, without having to go back to virtual, and got through a full fall semester.
Well, I know in Salisbury, Dr. Charles White, who has just announced his retirement, actually stepping down at July 15th, he almost seems as if he's aged 3 or 5 years in the time that we've known him, and the pandemic has really taken a toll on him and just the processes and just all the drama that goes with that. But you guys seem to be more invigorated than ever.
That's correct. We went like Benjamin Buttons. I think that movie,
Yeah.
where we went in reverse. So we're not aging, we're getting much younger. But seriously, I think what happened with us that made us so successful is our students. And we took on our students took on the challenge of really trying to make sure to keep the campus safe and focused on that. And this was our student leaders who met with me. So if you recall, everybody shut down March of 2020. What is this? What is the pandemic? What is this whole virus? What is this whole COVID? What do we do about it? And it was all a big question mark for everyone. And so our students left and we sent them home like everyone else around the world did. And about June of 2020, our leaders came back and I met with them one-on-one and they said, President, if you can figure out how to get us back, please do so. This is our home. And for so many of them, they do see this as their home away from home. And I made a deal with them that night. It was a dinner. And I said, if we can figure out how to do this and bring you back safely, I need your help as a partnership to make sure that we keep students safe and we get the campus open and we don't have to close again. I said, if you break that partnership, then I have to send you all back home. And they came in, rolled up their sleeves, and did what needed to happen. And we had one little small uptick at Labor Day. And after that, those few people that went home, the rest of them said, oh no, we're gonna fall in line, and we took care of it. And let me add, it wasn't like we locked them in the rooms. They had all sorts of activities around the entire campus, in-person classes, virtual classes, classes on the lawn. So happy the weather stayed well that fall. It was really nice until almost November, but we kept them very busy.
I love knowing that because it helps define my next question, and that is, you're known for your leadership skills. You've really come in and taken a strong leadership role. In academia, this is your first presidency, but you've had to show leadership. But was it a challenge to suddenly be like the person?
Interesting. I never thought of myself as the person, but from a standpoint of leadership, you're correct. I've had a number of leader positions in higher education. It is my first presidency. Since I spent time in Kentucky, I always say I'm a one and done president, one time and I'm going to be done with it. And the reason for that really is just a number of reasons. I looked very, very carefully before I thought about a presidency and said, if I'm going to go this route, I want to pick the right place. The place that I felt that I fit, the place that I felt that I could help with a team make a difference, and a difference in the lives of all the students who are there. And after you do it once, why do you have to do it again, So that's why I call myself, this is the presidency that I looked for and I was really happy to come and be a part of.
Most quality leaders have some moment in their life when they're growing up when they realize that they're different than the people around them and that they can be a leader. Did you have a moment like that?
I think I had many moments. If my mom was still alive, she would tell you, well, we always knew that she was going to be a leader, but I'll tell you one thing that stands out. And one of the things, my passion is always education. We can always continue to learn, never stop learning. And in the summer times, when most kids would look forward to summer vacation, I looked forward to it from the standpoint of being at home on our street, but also getting the kids together and say, hey, gather around and we're going to still learn some things over those summer months. And so I would assign the kids, I had a stack of books that I would check out the library, and then I would assign it to the kids in the neighborhood, and we'd have these reading circles and reading groups, and me being a teacher, or in that case, as my mom said, the leader of the group, and really go through how do we, learn some new things over the summer months. Of course, most of the kids in the neighborhood didn't like it, but I loved it. In addition, I would sell them a little bit of lemonade on the side, so I had this entrepreneurial thing going, and it really fit. So I would say from a standpoint of being a leader, it's been ingrained in me for a long, long time.
But there's a lot of pressure with being a leader because so many people are relying on you and your judgment.
It is, but that's why you have a team. So I would say the most effective leaders have a really good team of individuals with them, standing beside them, standing along with them, behind them, but they're right there to help you out.
One of the notions is that leaders are born rather than trained, but I think that that's not necessarily the case, and there's lots of opportunities to learn how to be a leader.
I think it is. I think you have to be a little bit of both, because the one thing I think you have to do as a leader is understand that you're going to make sometimes tough decisions. That doesn't make, you're not going to be there to, it's not about pleasing everyone. And if you go into the job thinking you're going to please the people, then it's not the right one for you. And so I think that's why I say I think it's a little bit of innate that you learn that that's not what I'm here for, but you're here for a purpose. And I think that part of it is innate, because I do think, especially if you're a person of faith, that it is part of who you are and who you're supposed to fulfill. Leaders also have to know when to follow. So we all, I think, can play both roles in a sense, but you do have that one person who can stand out and say, this is the purpose, this is what we want to focus on. And even when there's distractions, you keep head on focused on that particular purpose.
Does the faculty here consider leadership something that they need to try to train into the students, or that you can be book smart, but you really have to know people as well? Is there a way to train that? I
think our faculty recognizes that even among our students, we have those kind of natural born leaders, and then we have others who kind of are, I would say, are late bloomers, and they can bloom into becoming that leader. And so our faculty really work with our students from where they're at. So, for example, our students can enroll in a number of organizations. We have over several hundred organizations here. But then they also can become leaders of their class, leaders of their sorority or fraternity, and also leaders in the community. And then our faculty then will help shape that as needed from a standpoint of whether they're advising them or mentoring them about that particular area, or just about being their whole confidence or their self-esteem, those type of things.
So when you arrived on campus, what did you find? What did you want to tackle first?
Oh my. Well, let me answer. You have a two-part question. When I arrived, what I found was a beautiful campus. You walk this campus, and I walk it pretty much daily. 1,000 acres of just beautiful, lush green and in our buildings. What I wanted to tackle first, and I'm still tackling, is our enrollment. We were a campus that at one time had over 4,000 students, and our numbers kept going down and down, and so this is one of the areas that I wanted to really tackle right away. However, remember I mentioned the team.
Right.
When I first arrived, I had a team. My cabinet is 9 individuals, and half of them were in interim positions. So the first thing I really had to work on tackling was to get the right team of people who could also then hopefully help me with the enrollment going further. And so that was really the first thing that I tackled. We did a number of interviews, got a really good group of talented individuals, and then we were able to start carving off what do we want to work on first, what's on second, what's on third, that type of thing.
In the town gown environment, one thing that we've all noticed is you seem to have done a great job raising a lot of money to benefit the university.
Well, that was one of the other challenges. Wanted to make sure that we have a university here that can sustain itself through past my presidency and whoever comes beyond me. And one of the things I saw early on is that we did not have a large endowment as a university. Most HBCUs do not have a large endowment, but ours was a little bit smaller than what I felt it should be. So even before Mackenzie Scott gave us the magnificent $20 million donation that we are so grateful for, we started looking at how do we fundraise and how do we not just do that from within our alums, but other donors as well. And I'm happy to say that where we are today, in just the short time that I've been here, without the Mackenzie Scott funds, we've over 56% have doubled our endowment.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pride in our community. Some of the people with the foundations have given a lot of money to UMES because they believe in its mission.
Yes, I think they do. We have a mission that is foundational for taking any student where they're at and helping them get the best education at the lowest, most affordable cost that it can be, and get them across the finish line to graduate. And you mentioned the town gown. One of the things I have seen since I have been here is our town, it's not just Princess Anne, it extends out. And it's the tri-county, it's the tri-state here, because we have students that we get from the Virginia area, from Delaware, also, of course, from the Eastern Shore, and they really want to help achieve what I think is fundamentally what we're about, that mission of getting that student across the finish line.
You mentioned HBCU, and that's one of the things that I have to admit I never really understood, but because you all talk about it so much and relate to that, I feel like I get it now, and I understand how really important that is, and it's a really vital part of the identity here. I feel like for a long time that wasn't talked about, but that's really one of the things that makes this place really special.
Very much so. We are a proud 1890 HBCU. So HBCU, for the audience, historically black university, okay, college and university. The 1890s part means that we are a land grant HBCU. And the reason I say we're very proud of that is because that is how we were formed by a federal act that came about. I won't get into the history of that, but I would say if anyone in the audience is interested, they want to go and take a look at that, the Motel Act. But it basically means that you're a university that has a foundation of being an agriculture base, but also based with your community and making sure we stay engaged with the community. The HBCU part of that is that when our government formed these particular universities many, hundreds of years ago, they had the 1862s, which were all predominantly white institutions. And they formed the special 1890s because blacks could not go to a historically a white institution. And so at the time they said, we're going to give a little piece of land and property to certain towns around the country. And 19 of them is what they did, 19 of these. And we formed what is known as the 1890s HBCUs, which makes us a little bit unique than a non-1890, like a Morgan State, which here in our state, or like a Coppin or a Bowie. We are the land grant on this side of the shore.
And I would think, with enrollment being a question, that would be a powerful tool in enrollment, especially in suburban Maryland, suburban Baltimore, in terms of attracting students down here, because there is that tradition.
It is. The other thing your 1890 and the agriculture base does is it gives you're more science focused. And so we are really turning to become more heavily STEM, science based than we were. When our university formed 135 years ago, we were a teacher's college. And even after we got this whole 1890 designated, with agriculture being our base, we started beginning to, at that time, even morph into becoming more science. Today, look at our enrollment from last year, the top 10 majors that our undergraduates major in, 5 to 6 of them are STEM related, science related. So I like to say that we are the 1890 land grant HBCU that is STEM focused on the Eastern Shore and in the state of Maryland.
Yeah, the building we're in right now is a STEM building.
That's correct.
And it's an amazing building, a great facility here. And that's a testament to all the people that identify that need and help fund it and get it built. But there's so many other great things that are going on. And one thing that really impresses me is the School of Pharmacy that's coming up.
Yes. We have, we're talking about the STEM programs. From a standpoint of healthcare, we have 8 health profession programs, the most of any HBCU in the country. And when you mention pharmacy, well, I'm a pharmacist myself.
Okay.
And we have physical therapy. We also have our newest program, our physician assistant program. It was here a number of years ago, but this is a brand new program. We've most recently added sports management. I get into trouble if I try to name them all because I know I end up forgetting one or two. But we have a complement of 8 health profession programs that are at the undergraduate as well as doctoral level that our students come and major in. You mentioned the pharmacy program. Our pharmacy program will be celebrating its 10th anniversary, believe it or not, this year. And the new building that we're about to go into, which we took a tour on most recently as 2 weeks ago, is just amazing. The way pharmacy is today, it's not just you have to stand there and learn how to count pills and put them into a bottle. You really have to get into patient care. So for example, our pharmacy students, along with our talented pharmacy faculty, they were giving COVID vaccinations when vaccines became available. Prior to that, they give flu vaccines. If you can imagine having pharmacists and a physical therapist and a physician assistant, all of these professionals working together, that allows us to do what we call team-based healthcare, which is really the premier of healthcare out there. And that's something that we have been working on trying to do here, but it's hard to do when your students and your faculty are in 8 different buildings.
Right.
Now we can pull them all together in the one beautiful place.
The governor was just here, and he toured the new school of pharmacy, and I was told, and this is gossip, but I was told that one of the things he said is, I had no idea. Like, he was like really wowed by it. And you hear that a lot about UMES. When you tell people that they have this program, that program at UMES, people say, I have no idea. So what programs do you hear people say that about?
Obviously, the health professions, like the governor. The other ones I hear them say about is our aviation science program. We have the only 4-year degree aviation sciences program with a bachelor's in the state. Our HTM, Hospitality Tourism Management program, that is combined with our certified PGA certified golf program.
Right.
People say, I didn't know you had that. And again, we're the only PGA certified golf program that any HBCU in the country, and they only certified 19 of them. We have, what else is it? Sports management is our newest one, and people didn't know we had that, but we have it now, and many people have. We're engineering. That was where our STEM comes from. And criminal justice, which is another one of our undergraduate high majors that our students go on to become lawyers. I believe we had a judge, one of our alums is a judge who was here just after the pandemic doing a speech with our campus. So those are kind of some of the ones that people don't even think about that we have on the campus. And I didn't even mention any of the ag.
Right, it's a tradition here. It's an ag school in so many ways.
That's correct. It's an ag school in a number of ways, will always be. And we have the traditional things you think about in ag. Our general agriculture program, which is one that we're really talking up a lot in this last year, we see it now rising to the top as far as students' interests. If you think about our ag program as well, we do a lot of research from our School of Ag that's looking at marine problems. So you have the Chesapeake Bay, you have the Atlantic Ocean, and there are problems with, from standpoint of keeping the bay clear and making sure the water is safe, and making sure the fisheries are safe in those areas. And our faculty go through that particular type of work and work very closely with federal government, state government to make sure that we're solving those particular problems.
You know, you mentioned recruiting students, but even more burdensome, perhaps, is recruiting faculty. How does that factor into your life, your career?
Very good point, Greg. I rely on our existing talented faculty to hopefully word of mouth tell other faculty, but we really have a robust way of trying to interview and get faculty in. I think one of the things that sells faculty, and I hope that I'm correct if our dean or chair would tell me this, is the shore itself and trying to let people know this is a really nice place to come, especially if you have a family, even if you don't have a family. But it's quiet if you want to get out of the urban city, but you're close to urban if you need to get to it. You know, we're 2 hours from D.C., Philadelphia. New York is not too far away, so if people really want to get into the urban life, you can do that. But then we have excellent laboratories, classrooms to offer to people. And I think from a standpoint of coming out of COVID, many people are looking for those much quieter places and don't mind a rural setting that has a good cost of living as well.
I love the hotel motel program, management program at the Henson Center, and I look forward to any event where I get invited where I'm going to eat at UMES, because it's so well done and so professional and just really great stuff.
Yeah, these are our students out of our HTM program, so talented, and you're correct. And the food they prepare, they do everything there and will serve you, of course, under the leadership of our faculty, and we're very, very proud of them. So I agree with you. I love any time they invite me over to have a meal. I better stop doing that, though, because they're always feeding me all those cakes, you know, and which is why I got to get over and do the exercise with our kinesiology group.
Yeah, the Smith Island cake was invented in Somerset County, Maryland, so.
That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
That's been my favorite since I've gotten here.
Well, talking about that, how's your adjustment been to life on the shore?
My husband and I, we love it. We both are golfers, and so the fact that you can go anywhere around and really be on a golf course, a very nice one. You can have some challenging courses by going over near the water and the ocean, or you can have, you know, kind of low key, but we just really enjoy it. More importantly, it's just like I said earlier, you can get to other places very, very quickly. So we like a rural type of life, and this is the most rural I've ever lived in, and it's been my best.
I want to talk about athletics a little bit, because there is a great athletic program. We hear about the bowling program a lot, but basketball is constantly trying to make improvements. There's a great long history with that, but any idea of expanding sports somehow?
Very good question. We have 15 NCAA Division I sports at this time, and you are correct. Our bowling team has been out there with championships, but our volleyball team is doing quite well.
True, yes.
Definitely. And I would expect that our men and women's basketball this year, this is a message to to the coaches, I would not be surprised if they bring home some interesting things coming up in the season this year, whether it's going to be wins or high accolades. But basically, we're going to have a good season all the way around. Expanding sports, we are, like many institutions, we're looking at what is our right mix. Right now with NCAA, you have to make sure you have, you know, a certain complement of men and women's sports. And our students have been asking for things like soccer and asking for us to look at things like lacrosse. And then our alums and some of our students always want to look at football.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned football, because people say that to me all the time. Like, you know, well, UMES hasn't been the same since they got rid of football. They should bring back football. And I will always say, that's a really complicated thing. It's really hard to establish a football program. Do you have any idea what you're saying? But they sort of dismiss that like it should be an easy thing.
You're exactly right. I don't think bringing back any particular thing or even creating any new thing is ever an easy thing. And football is one of the more complex. And these days, because of the cost of not just uniforms and stadium and coaches, but the complement of, you know, in NCAA, you have to have a certain number of percentage of women. If you have a certain percentage of men, it is very, very complicated. I like the next person. I like watching a good football game. Grew up near Chicago, so I'm Chicago Bears, but I also am a Dallas fan. But as far as bringing it back to the shore, that would be something that would take a lot of investment. And right now, I like to see us invest into our students and invest in a sense that they are not having to have a large debt load when they come out of college. So I want to see us put more of our students through to give them more full rides, whether they're an athlete or an honor student or a STEM student or whatever they may be, and make sure that we keep the debt down when they're going out. I think that's where I hope my alumni and students would want me to put the resources at, to make sure that we're not sending people out with large debts.
Yeah, I'm glad you talk about that too, because when I started college, you know, a million years ago at University of Maryland College Park, my tuition was $666 a semester. Yeah. I could basically go to school for, you know, room and board, everything, for about $2,800 a year. I was able to make that much money in my summer job, but it's not like that anymore.
It isn't, Greg, and honestly, people, the debt that students come out of, most of us in universities, this is what most presidents, I think, what keeps us up at night. How do we make sure that our students come to us and get out with a good education without spending a whole lot? A lot of factors go into why debt is high, though. You're talking about football being complex, financial aid is even more complex, because students come in, and part of it is not only the cost that you have to pay to go to school these days, but also the room and board. You have all the tools that you have to purchase to do that. And what they're finding, however, is that, the national trend tends to say a lot of people out there with a lot of big debt. And if you really look at it, a third of the population really has less than $10,000 of debt. You think about it. You can buy a car. You can't even buy a real new car for $10,000.
Yeah.
So the key, I think, is not talking about how much debt I'm going to have coming out, but how much of an investment this is to my future.
Yeah, what will my income be based on this good training that I'm getting?
Exactly, yeah. Because we know that the statistics and the research show that those people who are college educated, you come out and you're making, very quickly you're making 10 times as much as your counterparts who had no high school, who no college degree, or just only a high school diploma. So you have to look at, I think it has to be looking at the long term.
I think one of the great things locally that's gotten noticed too is your relationship with Warwick Community College in Salisbury.
Yes.
And I just have a story in my newspaper this week coming up that you guys are working to change what happens in terms of transferring credits around. But you've done some initiatives together, and that's pretty exciting stuff here locally.
We think it's very exciting. Warwick, President Hoy and I, it's amazing. I like to tell this story, and he tells it as well. So I arrived September of 2018 on the shore. I'm the new president. And because this is such a rural environment, they have my picture all over the papers, which I didn't know about. And I'm going out, I was at Sam's Club. My husband and I were out there. You have to stock a lot of things when you first move. And person comes up and he says, "You're the new president of UMES." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I'm Ray Hoy, and I'm the president of Warwick." And he starts talking about his school. And he says, "And when you get settled, we should try to work on projects together and do some things." I always remember that because I looked at him and I said, I met he and his wife, and it was charming. It was wonderful to meet them. But I said, "Yes, let's try to work together." 3 years later, because COVID hit us and we couldn't really work on anything except focus on COVID, here we are now in a partnership by it's called ASCU, the American Association of State Colleges and Universities, AASCU, and it's focusing on transfer students. And now Warwick and us are in a partnership to try to make sure we can advance the number of students that leave Warwick and come to UMES to complete a 4-year degree. And with part of what I got the Mackenzie Scott funds is we've actually made this partnership such that those students coming from Warwick who complete their first degree there and come to UMES, we're going to do it almost as a free ride, a full ride to them. So you're talking about debt, no debt.
In the short time I have left, where do you want to take this institution? How do you want to leave it, I guess?
We are hawks. I see us soaring above and beyond in everything that we do. Our teaching, our research, and our service to the community, and really making this university stand out. My campus knows when I got here, I said we are going to be in the top 10 of HBCUs, and we are rising every day into that.
She's Dr. Heidi Anderson. She's the president of the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. We're thrilled that she let us come into her beautiful facility here and do our show one-on-one on PAC 14. I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
Star Power!
Good.
I believe it now.
Yeah, see? We have a believer! Well done.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.